In 1987, the first Warhammer 40k rulebook introduced the Zoats, centaur-like aliens serving as Tyranid diplomats. They had miniatures. They had detailed lore. They appeared in multiple official codexes. Then Games Workshop erased them. No explanation, just gone. Why delete an entire species? Because the Zoats revealed what the Tyranids really are, and once you see what was removed, the entire official narrative falls apart. Welcome back to the Illuminati. Every week I expose the lore game developers delete. Today, the Tyranid origin theory Games Workshop erased from existence. The theory that explains why they removed the Zoats, why the lore keeps changing, and what the hive mind actually is. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what Games Workshop has been hiding for 30 years. The official story? Tyranids are mindless, extragalactic, unknowable. A cosmic horror with no origin, no history, no purpose beyond consumption. The hive mind is pure instinct. They were drawn to our galaxy by the Astronomicon, mistaking psychic light for prey. This became canon in 1995 with Codex Tyranids 2nd edition, but the 1987 Rogue Trader rulebook told a completely different story. And Games Workshop has spent 30 years making sure you never read it. The 1987 lore was specific. Tyranids had servants, the Zoats, centaur-like diplomats who could speak to other races, negotiate, and plan strategic invasions. If the hive mind is mindless instinct, why does it need diplomats? Why would a force of nature negotiate? Games Workshop never answered. They just erased the Zoats. By 1998's 3rd edition, they were gone. Miniatures discontinued. Lore scrubbed. No explanation. That's not the only thing they erased. The original Tyranid lore included slave hormones, independent hive tyrants, and warp-capable bioships. All deleted. All within 5 years. Why systematically remove every trace of Tyranid civilization? Because it revealed their true origin. And that origin connects to the oldest conspiracy in Warhammer 40k. The 1987 Rogue Trader rulebook describes something Games Workshop spent a decade erasing. The Tyranids were a civilization, with technology, with society, with slaves. The hive mind didn't exist, not as we know it. Each hive fleet was ruled by a single hive tyrant, the physical queen from whom all other Tyranids were born. Kill the hive tyrant, and the entire fleet dispersed. One creature, one leader. Not a galaxy-spanning psychic god. How did they control their empire? A slave hormone. Official White Dwarf publications describe Zoats as completely independent living creatures much like their masters, until the Tyranids chemically lobotomized them. When Zoats broke free, they developed powerful psychic abilities. The hormone had been suppressing their minds. This wasn't consumption, this was conquest. They held rank within hive fleets. They were diplomats for a civilization that officially doesn't exist. Even gene stealers weren't Tyranids. They were a separate species from Imgarl, only retconned in 1990. Games Workshop was already rewriting Tyranid origins before most players noticed. By 2nd edition in 1995, all of this was gone. Zoats deleted. Hive tyrants became extensions of the hive mind. Slave hormone never mentioned again. Warp technology erased. Prisoner taking removed. Games Workshop transformed the Tyranids from a terrifying alien civilization into a generic space monster. Why erase a concept this rich? Because it revealed their true origin, and that origin connects to the oldest secret in Warhammer 40k. 3 theories explain why Games Workshop erased the Tyranid civilization, and all 3 are more terrifying than the official story. Theory 1. The Tyranids are an Old One's bioweapon. 60 million years ago, the Old Ones created the Eldar as psychic warriors. They created the Krork, what became orcs, as weapons against the Necrons. Both were engineered, deployed, controlled. The original Tyranids had the same signature: slave hormones to control species, engineered servant races like the Zoats, biological warp technology. Exactly the hallmarks of Old One's engineering. The theory? Tyranids were the final weapon, a self-replicating swarm designed to strip Necron tomb worlds of biomass, denying them bodies to return to. But the Old Ones lost the war in heaven before deployment, or lost control entirely. If true, the Tyranids aren't extragalactic invaders. They're a 60-million-year-old doomsday weapon coming home. And Games Workshop erased the slave hormone lore because it made this connection too obvious. Theory 2. They're fleeing something worse. Multiple Hive Fleets entered from the same direction in the galactic east. They move with desperate, relentless speed. Not confident predators, but prey. The theory. Something in the void between galaxies is hunting them. The Tyranids are refugees. Every world they strip isn't conquest, it's preparation. They're building strength for a war against something we haven't seen. Something that terrifies even the hive mind. Here's why Games Workshop buried this. If the Tyranids are refugees, they're sympathetic. You can't sell them as pure evil if they're running for survival. The Zoat diplomats, the strategic invasions, the prisoner-taking, all of it suggested the Tyranids had motives beyond hunger. So Games Workshop deleted the evidence and rewrote them as mindless monsters. Theory 3. Corporate simplification. A mindless swarm is easy to market. No motivations to explain, no politics, no history. Just point at the bugs and say, kill them. But a civilization with diplomats, slave races, and warp technology requires nuance, creates plot holes, limits narrative flexibility. By erasing the Zoats and independent Hive tyrants, Games Workshop traded depth for marketability. They turned a tragic alien empire into a generic monster. Which theory is true? Maybe all three, maybe none. But here's what we know for certain. Games Workshop removed the Zoats from codexes, retconned the hive mind into a god entity. What did we lose when Games Workshop deleted the Tyranid civilization? We lost tragedy. The modern Tyranid is a force of nature, like a hurricane. No malice, no choice, just instinct. But the original Tyranids had society. They had servants who could rebel. They had hive tyrants who could be killed, ending entire fleets. They had agency. They were a people, not a plot device. The Zoats existed. The slave hormone was canon. The Tyranid civilization was real. And Games Workshop erased all of it. Why? Because a mindless swarm is easier to sell than a fallen empire. Because the truth connected them to the Old Ones, to the war in heaven, to secrets Games Workshop didn't want to explore. So, which theory do you believe? Old One's bioweapon? Refugees fleeing something worse? Corporate cover-up? Drop your answer in the comments. The Tyranids were already here, in a form we were never meant to remember. The lore is a lie, and I have the receipts. Thanks for watching.
The Council approves this video. Subscribe now.